Here we go. Technical difficulties. Love, lifestyle, level up. Welcome to Oktane Minutes Podcast. And as you see, we are back again. The production value did upgrade. I'm pretty good at AI. Anyway, so what's been going on with me? First of all, before we get started, I want to send a shout out to my man Tony the Goon over there in Utica, New York. Shout out to Tony and his 6 beautiful kids. His oldest son just became 5th in the state of New York City for high school wrestling. And his pin percentage was so high that what I was told that he basically, the next season coming up, that he will be high-seeded. Big Sal, what up? His son will be high-seeded, and his son will be basically, all he has to do is train and basically get cracking. You know what I'm saying? Like, train and get all the championship matches, championship high-level tournaments. You know, hopefully he'll go to the Nationals, you know what I'm saying? That's a future Olympian we're looking at. It may be a future UFC champion. You never know. Flow grappling. But, yeah, the kid's 190, 6'4". He's a super stud. He's super stud. And he, you know, hopefully he does enjoy the sport and he becomes an all-time great. In the name of, like, shout out to Dick Cardinal and Wade Shells and guys like that. Kurt Angle, you know, Alexander Karelin, all over the world. Been working and putting together some wrestling projects. You know, shout out to State Line Wrestling, my good friend Steve Emmons. You know, we're trying to let these kids know out here that you're not alone in the world. You know what I'm saying? There's a nasty world full of adults that don't care about these kids. We're the ones that care about these kids. You know what I'm saying? And if we got to stand up to a bunch of adults who mistreat children or let kids know that mistreating each other is not cool, then that is. But like I said, we're human and we will stand up for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So State Line Wrestling and my brother Steve Emmons, you know, we're doing that thing. So brass tacks, you know, other than that, you know, we've been dealing with a blistering cold Florida and the sun's coming back out. So I'm happy for that, you know. But then it's going to get hot, and we're going to think about the brutal, cold, blistering winter, because that's just how we are. We are big babies in Florida, and we hate the cold. We don't do the cold. But the other thing that's going on with me is that I watched a movie. That I thought was so pivotal in my life that I had to talk about it. But I didn't want to just kind of just do anything for this movie. It was just, I will say like this is one of the top 3 hardest martial arts movies I have ever seen in my entire life. And it is called The Last Master. And it was fairly recent, within the 2010s, 2015, when the movie dropped. I would have that information about what it did in the box office, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll pick around and do that. But the thing that I will cover in this movie, basically in a short, meteoric way of handling it, you know, it's basically this man named Shin Chi. He's the last Wing Chun master of his clan. He arrives in Tijin village hoping to open a school, but becomes entangled in the city's local politics. The martial arts hierarchy, he trains a local rickshaw puller named Jin Lianxin to defeat 8 rival schools, unknowingly placing him in the crosshairs of Madame Xiao, who seeks to reclaim power. As alliances shift, Jin Xiao is disgraced. Zhao leaves Shen, and Jin is betrayed and killed at his school's opening. Shen kills Lian Shiwen and becomes a fugitive, hunted by all Taijin schools. He loses his disciple and reputation and the legacy he fought to build. So basically, it's kind of like it's a tragedy in a different way, where a man wanted success and the haters came and tore it all down. Which unfortunately in real life, you have a lot of haters, you have a lot of backstabbers and style biters that will sit there and watch you with shifty eyes, waiting and plotting for your downfall. But even though this is a movie, and I'm pretty sure there was some things in reality that has happened in China like this, where there was some politics, because it takes place in the 30s. So this is maybe at the I guess the beginning of the Red Army coming into China, and they're picking up ideas. But shortly after this, because it takes place in the 30s, the Red Army did take over completely and take control and ban a lot of the kung fu styles. They historically, the Shaolin Temple was destroyed because of the communists, but also it's been destroyed time and time before. Most of the time by the Manchus, if I'm correct on history. I'm going to say the Manchus. The Manchus destroyed the Shaolin, the initial first Shaolin Temple that had been there. Then it was rebuilt, but the original one is no longer in existence. But the idea of greater Shaolin style kung fu does exist, for the few masters that did survive, So the movie covered key things. The number one is the cost of ambition. Chen Shi's obsession with establishing a Wing Chun school consumes everything about this man. His marriage, his disciple, his integrity. His legacy ambition becomes a blade that cuts down everyone around him, including himself. So he was so steadfast on becoming the man that, he eventually screws himself and basically sends himself spiraling. Then there is the theme of tradition versus modern power. The film has a constant contrast. The old martial ethics versus the modern principle of manipulation, political manipulation. Skill versus the propaganda. Lineage versus institutional power. Go back to skill and propaganda. The Gracies basically revolutionized martial arts. They literally, a whole family of them a lot of them kids were literally raised to take over the martial arts. And they did successfully for a long time. Because they knew that a lot of the styles have lost their way. Karate has lost their way. A lot of the stuff took the grappling out, took the judo out, took the wrestling out. Because wrestling and grappling are two different things. Judo is another different thing. It's about throwing, but the throws, the manipulate, that. And that's something that we can deal with today. Old martial arts ethic, modern political manipulation, skill versus propaganda, lineage versus institutional power, right? Because the army does take over in this movie. In the beginning, they said, the army is going to take over the schools. Lin's staged victory over Jin's symbolizes the death of authentic martial arts in the face of the military and political authority. Meaning that, no matter what you do and how much power you think you have, Big Brother is going to take over and dominate. Lin's staged victory, okay, we covered that. I'm reading. Exploitation within the martial arts lineage, nearly every character is used as a tool. Yeah, they're always finding a way to manipulate. Even the old masters that came to initially chase Chen Shi, because there is like a great fight scene. And one of the best great fight scenes was in that alley. Everything was not long drawn out. It was gritty. It was raw. It was in your face. They were brutal. They were short. It was just boom, boom, boom to the point. The sound design was remarkable, especially with the metal interlocking and clashing. Chen uses Jin. Jin planned to use Jing. Madame Zhao uses everyone. So, of course, yeah, she sent all the institutions after him. Chen uses Jing. He had that student, and he was going to use this young man to basically, do his thing. Lin uses Jing. The film exposes the darker side of lineage, where discipline becomes a transaction rather than a bond. Which happens in martial arts. You have guys who come from certain schools and get certain prestige, and sometimes don't have the skill set to back it up. And it happens. It happens, unfortunately, quite often. It happens in pro wrestling. You have guys who will use their lineage and their as their skill set. That, oh yeah, this is where I come from. This is who taught me. And then you'll say, oh well, wow, yeah, skill set. Happens in martial arts too. You have guys who aren't world champions, but they'll claim that, they'll claim that that makes them super good. But there's a lot of guys who are good because they were taught by world champions and trained with them. So they know that, they understand the drive, because a lot of times in the martial arts, it's about your drive and your mentality. It is spirit over technique. Hashtag quote, Funakoshi Sensei, Gichin. The other themes, loyalty and betrayal. Jing is the most loyal character and the most betrayed. Zhao is loyal until she sees Chen's moral collapse. Jing is betrayed by his own student. Chen betrays everyone, including himself, because he did not stay and fight. He did not stay and fight for that school. He went on the run. The illusion of legacy. Chen believes opening the school will secure Wing Chun's future. Instead, his disciple dies, his reputation collapses, his school never truly opens, he ends up hunted by 19 schools. The film argues that the legacy is built on ambition rather than virtue is doomed. The corruption of the martial arts culture. Tianjin's martial art world is shown as political, hierarchical, ego-driven, easily manipulated. Madame Zhao's rise shows how power can override skill, honor, and tradition. And the tragedy of the common man. Jing represents the ordinary person with extraordinary potential. His death is an emotional core of the film, because he does get killed by the establishment because he's too good. He got killed because he's too good, and he would have been the star student that would have made Shi. He cut down everybody, He had he was a good, tough, determined kid, and they didn't want that. They wanted people who fell in line in this movie. Which is great. And then the kung fu styles. The other thing that I liked, and we're covering a lot of that too. How many minutes am I in? I got 13 minutes. Lucky 13. Lucky me. Kung fu styles in The Final Master and what one symbolizes in the film's martial arts politics. Wing Chun, the practitioner Xingji Jing Lianshang, and then the whole story. A little known southern style entering a northern city dominated by long established system. Fast, close range, center line driven, efficient. Represents the outer innovation and the threat of disruption. Jing's mastery of it becomes the catalyst for the entire conflict. Bijakwang, 8 extremes fist practitioners, many Tianjin fighters, including Jing's disciple role in the story. It's a northern style famous for explosive power, elbows, shoulder strikes, battlefield applications. Symbolizes Tianjin's traditional martial authority. Chen defeats multiple Baji fighters early on, establishing Wing Chun's legitimacy. Ping Guang Quan, chopping hanging fist, often paired with Bai Ji Quan, the role in which the story, long whipping circular power, represents the flowing, extended, northern flavor that contrasts with Wing Chun's compact structure. So the northern styles are big and flowy, big and flowy, and I think they're more of the long weapons. The northern styles, you'll see the I know you see in some of the competitions, you'll see a floppy foil looking sword, the broadsword dowel sword with the ring and the cloth on the bottom. I think that's more of a northern thing. P. Guan Quan, often paired with Bai Zhong Quan, the role of the story, long whipping circular power, appears in several of the 8 school duels. Shui Zhao, Chinese wrestling, practitioners of some Taijin schools, role in the story, throwing, trips, grappling, highlights diversity of Tianjin's martial arts culture. Used to challenge Wing Chun's close-range striking with takedown pressure. Tong Bei Quan, through the back fist, role in the story, long-range striking, whipping power from the spine, another northern contrast to Wing Chun's tight structure, appeared in the 8 school gauntlets, knife fighting, military combat methods. The practitioner, Lin Jiwen, I got it right, Long Jiwen, or Long Shiwen, XIWN, represents modern militarized violence overtaking traditional kung fu. Lin's ambush of Jing's shows how weapons and political power, skill, and honor. Madame Zhao's school is mixed northern styles, and the role in the story is not one singular style, but political power base. Her fighters represent institutional authority, not martial purity. They embodied the corruption of the martial arts world. They wanted everybody to fall in line because she was the big bad mob boss. She had the money and she had the power and she had to say so. She didn't care about what your lineage was because hers was the only one that mattered. And she was the evil mob boss, an ominous figure mob boss. Wasn't particularly violent, but she was challenged and she did not like it. The film uses these styles thematically. Wing Chun, an outsider. Baiji, Piguang, and Tong Bei, traditional hierarchy, northern dominance. Shui Zhao, physical authority of grappling realism. Knife fighting, modern power replacing martial arts ethic. This film isn't showing styles, it's showing ideologies clashing. And that's what we deal with. We deal with the clashing of ideology. And since we're here, D-Pack, what up? I got Silver Fox Caesar out now, you know what I'm saying? If you want some CDs of Silver Fox Caesar. I also got download, even the score. I've got some copies of Four Righteous Killers. Four Righteous Killers out here. This is the Maison de Funk edition with that label. They put out a reissue of that. So yeah, that was a Maison de Funk edition. And you can hit up Black Medici on online and see if you get a copy. All right. Oh man, I'm fighting a little sleep, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, I want to send a shout out to my Saba Sun family. I'm working on an app called Cypher Sounds by Saba Sun Media, because I just got the LLC, and so we got a record deal. You know what I'm saying? We got a record deal, meaning that I'm building a label from the ground up. Bear with me, and we should have some real cool stuff going on. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to my Saba Sun family. Shout out to Tony the Goon. Shout out to my wrestling family. We've gone a long time, and we won't show signs of stopping. So I just wanted to cover The Last Master because that movie I loved. I thought it was one of the hardest movies I've ever seen, martial arts wise. And if you haven't seen it, it's free on YouTube for right now, for the time being, with added commercials. Still worth the watch. Very much worth the watch. If you can get it on DVD with the director's cut, do that too. But while I get ready to catch some sleep because I got shit to do tomorrow, I will talk to you later. Otherwise, merci beaucoup. And I will talk to you soon. Shout out to Tony the Goon. Peace.